All right, in this video, we're going to discuss the various types of unemployment. And what you should see is that not all kinds of unemployment are equal. So somebody may be out of a job for a variety of different reasons, and some of those may be more efficient than other types. So let's get to it. Okay, so to give you an example, I'm going to go through three cases. So I have three cases written here. So these are three people who are all unemployed, and they're all out of a job and they're actively searching for a job. So by the definition of unemployment, they would be considered unemployed. So the first case is a person didn't like the job that they were currently in, so they quit, and they're looking for another job. It may be that they just didn't like the industry that they were in, so maybe they were in clothing and they didn't like clothing sales, so they're deciding to go to, I don't know, Walmart or something instead to work. Or it could be that they just didn't like their boss, and so they left their job and they're leaving to go find a different boss, maybe in the same industry. Okay, but they just didn't like their job, so they quit. Okay, but they're considered unemployed because they're actively searching for another job. The second type of person, so person number two, let's say that he was a newspaper printer. So he worked in the newspaper industry, and he actually worked like the printing presses that would print the newspapers that you get. So, and because of the internet popularities, or the popularity of internet papers, he's being laid off because newspapers aren't printing as many papers anymore. So there's online papers, and online papers are much cheaper to manufacture and require less people, and it doesn't need people to actually print papers anymore. So he's out of a job and searching for another job instead because he was laid off from that job. The third type, or the third person in this case, is a real estate agent. And this real estate agent was laid off due to an economic downturn, let's say in 2009 or 2010, when people stopped buying homes. So we know around that time frame, a lot of people stopped buying homes and in fact just walked away from the homes that they were still paying. So during that time period, home buying basically came to a halt, and a lot of other stuff came to a halt. So this may be this real estate agent, or we can talk about maybe a local business who couldn't support the business anymore because people just stopped coming in. So somebody is laid off due to some sort of economic downturn. So looking at these three things, these are three different types of unemployment. Okay, and in fact, the first one is what we call frictional unemployment. So the person number one is what we would say is frictionally unemployed. And frictional unemployment is just people who are in between jobs. Okay, so somebody is in between jobs right now, and since they're in between jobs, like this person just quit, or it could be that they were fired from their job. So we all work with that lazy person who we think, like, why haven't they been fired yet? So if we think about that, they might just get fired. They weren't a good fit for that job. So they're searching for a better fit. And that's what we think of as frictionally unemployed. Maybe they're searching in the local newspapers for a better fit type of job. Okay? But that's frictional unemployment. Okay? Person number two isn't just between jobs, right? They were laid off for a different reason. And that reason being that something changed in the newspaper industry. So something fundamentally changed about that industry, and as a result, this guy doesn't have a job anymore. So the economy has transformed. It's gone from where it was into where it's going to go into the future. And so as the economy transitions, people lose their jobs. If that happens, we say that they are structurally unemployed. So the second type is structural. Okay, And structural unemployment occurs when there's a skill mismatch. Okay, so for example, the US doesn't manufacture as much as it used to. And so people who worked at the Maytag plant in Iowa manufacturing washers and dryers, when those jobs moved overseas and the US no longer produced those washers and dryers, those people lost their jobs. And as a result, they might be structurally unemployed because the skills that they had, let's say welding skills, weren't desired in today's economy. So this is a second type. So as the economy transitions from one type of economy to another, we see people unemployed until their skills match their current economy. Okay, another example of this might be 30 years ago, Mickey Mouse was drawn by hand, and today nobody draws Mickey Mouse by hand. So a guy who's a very, very good artist who could draw Mickey Mouse like none other may still find himself out of a job in today's economy when it's using computers. So if he can only draw but doesn't know how to use computers, he's going to find himself out of a job because the economy transitioned from making cartoons by hand to making cartoons with a computer. Okay. The last type of unemployment, so this person who was laid off due to an economic downturn, that happened because of a business cycle. So over the course of a business cycle, we saw unemployment go up during recessions and then go down during expansions. So that rise in unemployment during recessions is what we call cyclical unemployment. And that would fit this third person. So unemployment type number 3 is cyclical. And cyclical unemployment happens just due to the business cycle. Okay, so to give you a good example of this, in September, or in 2001, in July 2001 is when we entered the recession. So the dot-com bubble burst in 2001. And then later that year is when September 11th happened. And so as a result of people having less money, and also because of the terrorist attacks, a lot of people stopped flying. So Boeing and a lot of airline companies laid off a lot of workers at that time frame. So Boeing laid off something along the lines of, let's say, I don't know, 50,000 people. So Boeing laid off 50,000 people because nobody was buying airline tickets. And if as many people aren't flying, that means that they don't need to hire as many people to support the airlines that they are still currently flying. Okay. However, in 2002, 2003, 2004, as people started flying again, because it was after September 11th and fears were alleviated, and also just because the economy was recovering and people had more money to fly during that time period, Boeing hired a lot of these people back. So at that time, it wasn't something that there was a skill mismatch in the economy. It's just that people weren't flying, and so Boeing didn't need to hire as many people. So due to some other reason, and that's what we would call cyclical unemployment. So if we look at this, we have frictional, structural, and cyclical. The last thing that we want to look at is some of these unemployments are what we would consider better than other types. Okay, and we want to look at the efficiency of them. So if we look at frictional unemployment first, well, somebody's in between jobs. If I really hate my job and I'm looking for something better, or if my employer hated me because I wasn't a good worker and they fire me, and I'm looking for a job where I may fit in better, that's going to be a better fit after all, right? So economists tend to think of frictional unemployment as, like, let's say dating. So when you're in the marriage market, right, what do you want in a partner? You want somebody who fits you well, right, that makes you happy and you make them happy, where you're both better off as a result of that exchange. So here, trade making people better off. And frictional unemployment may be, it just wasn't a good fit. So you're dating somebody and they turn out not to be the one. You like them, but you don't want to like them enough to spend the rest of your life with them. So you part ways in search of something better where you have more happiness, and hopefully that other person finds more happiness as well. Okay, that would be frictional unemployment. So if I quit my job here because I'm not a good fit, Drake can hire somebody that's maybe better than me, so Drake's going to benefit by somebody else. Plus, I may benefit somewhere else where I'm a better fit as well. Okay, so frictional unemployment is what economists would say is efficient. So if we take frictional, we're going to say that's an efficient type of unemployment. Okay. Second type of unemployment, structural unemployment. Well, we know that the economy naturally transitions, and as the economy transitions, skills that were required in the past are no longer going to be required in the future. Okay. So it's unfortunate for people who had skills for the economy of the past, right? But at that same time, we don't want to stop the economy from transitioning. A good example of this is how many people would feel that it's really, really unfair that we don't have people who make horse buggies anymore because the automobile came about. Okay, so we think of, well, okay, at the time we thought the invention of the automobile was just going to tear the US economy apart. How many people lost their jobs because you didn't have to have as many stables, you didn't have to have as many trainers, you didn't have to have some guy cleaning up the horse poop in the roads, right? So all those things, we saw a lot of economic activity change when the automobile came about. And as a result, a lot of people lost their jobs. However, looking today, we say, well, is that necessarily a bad thing? I'd rather have a car than a horse today. Another good example of this might be this guy right here. So we have a cell phone. How many people are really upset that they don't have a landline anymore? And so, well, we have these instead. So we think of that person. So the local phone company, let's say Mediacom, may have had to lay people off because the landlines that were really popular 20 years ago are no longer as popular today. So the guy who climbed the tower and knew phone lines very well and could hook up phone lines, so forth, or operators, if we think 50 years ago, where we had an operator actually take out a plug and plug it in somewhere else to connect phone calls, that's no longer required in the economy, okay? So at that point, are we really upset that we have cell phones instead of those kind, instead of landlines? And I think the answer is probably no, okay? So as the economy transitions, which is good for a healthy economy, we want our economy to progress and continue to progress in the future, not stay stagnant. As that happens, we're going to naturally incur structural unemployment. So at that point, we say that structural unemployment is also an efficient type of unemployment. It's not efficient for the people who lose their jobs, but it's efficient for the economy overall. Okay? Is somebody going to be really upset that Mickey Mouse isn't drawn by hand instead of with a computer today? Okay? Last kind of unemployment. Well, cyclical unemployment. So somebody who just lost their job, and then because Boeing didn't need to hire as many people, and then hire them back. Well, why did Boeing have to fire them or lay them off to begin with? Okay, and if we think about that, it's really cyclical unemployment that's very inefficient, or the most inefficient out of all of these unemployments. So overall, in a healthy economy, we would naturally see frictional unemployment and structural unemployment. However, in a healthy economy, we wouldn't see cyclical unemployment. There should be no business cycles in a healthy economy. Okay? So with that, what we tend to say is that these two things are what we call, if we add these, they would be the natural rate of unemployment okay, so the natural rate of unemployment is going to be when cyclical unemployment is equal to 0, not total unemployment. Okay, so for example, we're always going to have people between jobs, and we're always going to have the economy transitioning. So some people that are just acquiring new skills for the modern economy. right? Maybe they go back to school and take a computer typing class or something, okay? So with that, if those are the only two types of unemployment, economists would say that we're at full employment. So the economy is fully employed when there is no cyclical unemployment. So to draw it better, let's use two colors here. And then let me draw that over again. Sorry about this. Okay, so this low box is going to represent frictional unemployment. The second box represents structural unemployment. And the red box, the third one, represents cyclical unemployment. Okay? These two things represent the natural rate. Of unemployment. What I think the book might call U star. So U, small u is the unemployment rate, U star is the natural rate of unemployment. Okay? So if this red box exists, unemployment is going to be higher than the natural rate. And at that point, we're saying that the economy has experienced some inefficiency. Okay? On the other hand, if this red box isn't there, the economy is equal to its natural rate, and the economy is as it should be. The third case could be that actually we have the true unemployment rate lower than the natural rate of unemployment. And in that case, we would also say that the economy is inefficient in a sense. If U is lower than the natural rate, that means that people may be staying in their jobs who shouldn't stay in their jobs, or maybe it shows that the economy isn't transitioning as fast as it should. Okay, so in those cases, we have some inefficiency. So if we denote U equal the unemployment rate, if we have U bigger than U star, that means that we have cyclical unemployment. So unemployment type number 3 is bigger than 0, and that's bad. It's inefficient. Okay, the second case is we can have U equal to U star, and that means cyclical unemployment equals 0, and that's good. The economy is as efficient as it can be. And then the last case is that we have U less than U star. And in that case, economists would actually say that cyclical unemployment is negative, but that's bad as well. The economy should naturally be at U star. So if it's below it, things aren't happening that should happen. So people are staying at their jobs who shouldn't stay there, or the economy just isn't transitioning, and skills that the economy isn't progressing. So skills that should be required for the modern economy are not progressing to that point. Okay? So with that, if we think of unemployment as 3 varieties, frictional, structural, and cyclical, then the natural rate of unemployment is just going to be frictional and structural. So overall, we can reduce the natural rate of unemployment by like online job searches. It allows people to find jobs faster. So if I'm in between jobs, I can find a job that's going to fit me faster, so forth. So online job searches reduces frictional unemployment and would reduce the natural rate of unemployment. Another one might be a job training program. So if we had a job training program where everybody who is unemployed, who doesn't have computer skills, goes through a typing class or something like that, that would reduce structural unemployment because people who may be unemployed because of a skill mismatch are acquiring skills that can be used in today's economy and make them more hireable. And in that case, we would see the natural rate of unemployment go down. Okay, But lastly, economists are mostly concerned about cyclical unemployment. That's really the most inefficient type of unemployment, and that's why are people unemployed due to a business cycle, and that's really worrisome. So when we think about unemployment, we don't want unemployment to be 0%. If unemployment is 0%, we're in this case, which is bad, right? It's inefficient. People should naturally be going between jobs. People should naturally acquire more skills to match the new economy. Okay, so economists want us to be right here. We want to be at where unemployment is equal to the natural rate. If we're above or below that, we consider that bad. However, it's worse if cyclical unemployment is bigger than 0 than this case. So the worst outcome, the second worst, and the best possible outcome. Okay, so with that, we can look at the variety of unemployment. So not only do we think about unemployment as an unemployment rate, but we're really concerned about why people are unemployed as well.